Hey guys, it's Mandy, and welcome to another episode of Resume Live, where I'm going to be taking you through behind the scenes of me editing a resume in real time, so you can see the thought process that I take, the questions that I ask, and the strategy behind the edits that I'm making in real time. So this is a resume that I've renamed as Gal Gadot because she was so amazing in Wonder Woman. Can we just talk about that for a second? And loved that movie. So I've renamed this resume. This is a real resume. This is a colleague of mine that I went to business school with back in 2010. And what I love about this is that it's a real resume. You're going to see some of the opportunities and challenges that we have to work through together. And another thing to know is this is not, I don't know this person extremely well. It's an acquaintance. So some of the questions or some of the things that might come up are all real. I don't have any insider information. Any of the questions that I would ask, I'm actually asking because I don't know the answer. So again, I'm just doing this so you can see the reality of what it's like. Okay, so I'm going to actually start from the bottom chronologically, and let's try and take a look and actually just understand the breadth of her experience, okay? So let's start at the bottom. And it looks like she graduated from Arizona State University in 2006. She studied journalism and mass communication. So immediately I think of someone who's a good communicator, who enjoys writing, presentations, probably more extroverted of a person. She has a million awards as an undergrad. It looks like she probably went to school on some sort of major scholarship, possibly even a full ride, which is great. What's really interesting here is that she has 2 years of work experience between undergrad and business school. And so this is an outstanding candidate. This is someone who has usually when you go to business school, you have at least 4 years. 4 years is really like the norm, 4 to 5 years of work experience where you've proven yourself, where you've gotten promotions. And it looks like she only has 2. So off the bat, I already know that this person is a superstar. Okay. So went to Columbia, studied finance and marketing, small business consulting program. Great. Okay. So finance and marketing, usually what I say for MBAs is you want to pick one of these things. Finance, especially at Columbia, it is a finance school. And if you can say you have an MBA in finance, that is credible. That is, very strong. Marketing is a totally different beast from finance, right? It's a different set of skills. It's a different set of interests. So while I understand you're trying to spread your skills and show that you know both, I think typically it's stronger to just pick one, depending on the kind of role that you're applying for, right? So that's just note there. Okay, so after Arizona State, she stayed in Phoenix for 2 years where she worked at Internet Broadcasting, which is website solutions for television news stations, where she was a web editor. Okay, so this makes sense because she studied journalism, then she went and became a web editor, and she was doing website launches, analyzing traffic. So this is someone who's pretty comfortable with numbers, right? Which is good. Okay, and then after business school, she moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, spent a year working at a startup where she was focused on business development, so selling whatever this startup had to sell, and fixed income trading. Okay, interesting. So she actually managed relationships with major banks like BlackRock, Goldman, JP Morgan. Okay, so this is very interesting. So a couple of questions I would have here is I'd really want to know about the size and scope of a startup. I always think it's a good indicator to say, okay, is this a Series B startup? How much money have you raised? Are there any prominent investors? How many people work for this startup? Just to show, I can't tell from this alone if this was a 5-person company or a 50-person company, and that makes a difference, okay? So what's really interesting here is after Charlotte, North Carolina, she was recruited by an international talent program, so like a rotational program with assignments in Brazil, across the US, and Norway. Okay, so what's really interesting is this is a very global position. And also she's gone into a new industry. Okay, so whereas before she was working in finance, financial services, a startup, now she's going to what I'm assuming is a multinational corporation based in Norway that does oil and gas. That is a completely different industry. Awesome that she made that transition, but worth noting that that's a new industry. Okay, and then most recently, she stayed in Norway, but moved positions after 3 years to go to Telenor Group, where, again, very international. She was based in both Norway and then Singapore, where she was the director of global partnerships for Facebook. Okay. So what I like to do at this point, especially when you have a resume where there are changes and transitions in both geography, like she's in Norway, she's in Singapore, she's in Brazil, Charlotte, right? Like, and then also in industry and function. I like to just make a quick note of what is the kind of high points to understand what's going on. Okay. So I'm going to just take some notes over here, and I just want to first make a list of all of the industries that she has worked in. Okay. Let's start at the bottom. Okay. So industries. So journalism. Journalism. Financial services. Startup. Oil and gas. Telecom. Okay. I'm also going to just do like a countries thing. I don't know why. This is like trying to be so weird. Okay. So countries. Let's see. There's Norway. There's Singapore. US. Brazil. Any others that I'm missing? I think that's it. But that's pretty awesome and diverse. Definitely someone that I'd want to like go to dinner with and be like, how's the food in Norway? Okay, so countries. And then the last thing I want to do is think about function, okay? And the reason that I'm doing this is I want to really find some narrative flow and similarity and structure here, okay? What is the story that we're telling? A resume captures what you've done in the past, but we are trying to propel that to get you the next position in the future. So we are always trying to pull out what is the narrative story that you're trying to tell. Okay, so function. So she was a web editor / journalist. She did business development. She did strategic partnerships. Relationship management. Okay. She did corporate strategy. And within that, of course, she did financial analysis, forecasting. Great. And then global partnerships, strategic partnerships. Okay, so let's just take a step back and look at this. Okay, so this is someone who is very comfortable crossing industries, crossing borders, crossing countries, crossing the globe. And let's think about her. When I say function, what I really mean is like superstar skill set. You know, you're really trying to understand like what is this person's skills. And next to it, I'm going to do what I think is actually the skill. So communication, selling, connection, right? This is just like business expertise, strategic partnerships, is really about connection and selling. Okay? So now as I'm going through and editing the resume, I'm going to try to come up with like a little sentence to keep track of what is the overall, thrust of this resume. Okay, so, like when you read like a LinkedIn summary, it'll say like, innovative leader focused on blah, blah, blah industries. Like, let's do something like that. Okay, so if I were to do a summary, I would say experienced senior leader, well versed in strategic partnerships, communications, and business development, and strategy, corporate strategy, with experience with global leader with experience in, and then you want to list some of the industries, right? So financial services, telecom, and oil and gas across Europe, Asia, and the US. Okay? So that's really the selling point. So like if I'm in a room now and let's say I'm a recruiter and I have this resume in my hand, I'm going to say, look, I think she's an ideal candidate because she's global. She has a world view. She has experience in diverse industries, financial services, telecom, oil, and gas. And her real specialty and expertise is in strategic partnerships, communication, and business development. So when you look at this skill set, it really is someone who is who enjoys working with people, who is a strong communicator, and who is honestly an extrovert. I mean, this is someone who probably thrives in working with people, dealing with people. So I want that energy to come out of this resume. Okay? And I'm also going to do I'm going to just have questions here because whenever I do a resume, this is not, I know it's a little bit in a bubble right now, but it's not in a bubble. It is always a living, breathing document. And so I'm going to have a list of ongoing questions that I would ask Gal and say, here's sort of the first draft, but here are really the questions that I want to dig into and figure out. Okay. So the very first question that I'm going to ask is just broad global question, which is, what are the types of roles that you are looking to apply to? Because that's going to really inform what we emphasize, right? So if she really wants to go into a sales role, a business development role, that's going to be a different resume than if she wants to go more into like corporate strategy and, doing financial analysis, coming up with like business operational recommendations, right? So I think the question is what type of roles, both functionally and industry wise, okay? Like, do you want to stay in Norway? And here's the thing. Okay, so her resume has Fort Lauderdale as her location right now, which I'm assuming, maybe this is where she calls home now. But, Norway, question mark, Fort Lauderdale, question mark, right. In my like weird fantasy world, and I'm totally making this up, but I'm like, maybe she like met a Norwegian man and like had this amazing romance and lived abroad, and then they decided to like come back to the US and they settled in Florida. I have no idea. But, these are the questions I would ask, because honestly, someone seeing this resume for the first time, they're going to go like, wait, Florida, but also Norway? Like, what's going on, right? So I think that is what I would ask is like, what were your reasons for going to Norway? And then try to actually like answer that through the resume where possible. Okay. So okay. What I'm looking at now is I'm trying to come up with a format that is going to make sense for this resume. And usually you want to lead with what is maybe like the most jarring thing. Sometimes people will have, their job hopping every year, and so you want to minimize that. Or sometimes people will have, job transitions that don't really make sense. I honestly feel like one of the things that is a little bit like not jarring, but just a question in my mind is like this geography thing, because it's a lot, right? For someone to process like what you were in Norway, Singapore, Brazil, and Charlotte, like it off the bat, not knowing anything, it doesn't make sense. So I would try to address that. Okay, so let's see. Okay. All right, so the first thing is I'm going to just put this in a normal font. Yeah, and I know that looks a little crazy, but I don't even care. Okay, so layout, tables. None. Okay. Got rid of all the lines. And this is actually a pretty well organized resume in terms of like the general formatting and whatnot. Usually when women do a resume, it's pretty organized. Sometimes when men do resumes, it's like, oh dear God. I mean, not to be like totally sexist or gendered or whatever, but I do find that, women have more of an eye for detail when it comes to having consistency in fonts and patterns and structures. That is not like a hard and fast rule. It's just something I've noticed. Okay. I think what's making me really confused is this location thing. Because I also feel like what is... Okay. Here's what it is. So there's a description sentence, which you need because because when you're talking about companies that are abroad that people don't necessarily know, it's really nice to have this sentence. But it's almost, here's the thing, my brain is getting scrambled because look at all the pieces of information that I need to understand. The name of this company, these locations, which are like, what? Norway and Singapore? Random. And then it's this sentence. And then it's this. And you're like, huh? So it's like 4 pieces of information, and that happens for every role. And so my brain cannot handle this. So let's play with it and let's see what we can do. Okay. So, okay. What happens? Also, here's the thing is, now, another thing that's inconsistent is up top here, you have countries, and here you have cities, right? So I would want to be like, well, what is the major city in Norway? Okay, so let's see here. Clearly I was looking this up. Okay, so Norway. No internet connection. Okay. Well, we would want to look up like the city names, okay? Singapore, there is no city name, but okay, I'm gonna remove this. I think there's like weird paragraph stuff happening. Yeah, I knew it. Knew there was weird paragraph stuff happening. See, I almost want to... Okay. I think I know what it is. Sometimes when you have these structures, what it requires is a little bit of a different... Whoa. Just a little bit. I think I'm actually going to fold this stuff into the first bullet. Ugh. And I'll fix that order later. Like, what is happening? Okay. Oh, also, I don't believe in italics, right? So I think when you have italics and bold, it's like too much. Okay. So we're going to move this over, if it'll let me. Oh, how I love micro. Oh, jeez. Fuck. Okay. I'm going to put some like nice voiceover music so it's not just like me fixing formatting on this video. Oh, come on. Get it. Get it. Get it. Okay. I'm going to widen this a little bit. Okay. We have to put that there. Okay. That is already feeling so much better. Yeah. Yeah. I want that. I want that. That's what I want. Okay. Boom. That's the structure. Okay. We got it. We got it. See, here's the thing. Okay, now this is interesting. When you have... I'm just in 2020. You know what? And I don't know. I'm going to just like assume it was Rio. I don't know. Watch, it's like not. And she's like, that's not what it was. I'll be like, sorry, girlfriend. I was doing my best. Okay. Oh, analyst, corporate strategy. I feel like it sounds better to say you were in an international talent program than to be an analyst. See, here's the thing. Sometimes people use the term analyst, and it's actually a rather senior position that requires an MBA, but I just am going to like fold this stuff in. I'm actually going to make this one position. Okay, here's the thing, is especially when it is, look, I am not Norwegian. I mean, I'm not Norwegian, obviously. I'm like Cantonese, right? But I am not familiar with like this multinational company in Norway that does oil and gas. Like, I'm just not. So therefore, it's like you can't introduce like too many unknowns, right? So like what I would say is, let's fold it into one position. It really doesn't matter that like for 2 years you did this and then 1 year you did that. Like, nobody really cares. So let's fold it into one thing. So I would say international talent program, and then analyst corporate strategy. And like, boom, boom, suddenly, you know, like, oh, you were chosen for this. How amazing. Okay. And again, come on, bullets. It's like, if I ever get to talk to Microsoft Word and just do some feedback to them, I'm going to be like, can you just stop being so difficult to work with? It's like, why? Why did you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, but one of my favorite things is this copy and paste function. Aha, there you go. Okay. So like Norway based, like, is there a way that we can say that without having to say that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need that, because I think it's distracting as a button. Oh, come on, my friend. Copy. Paste. Perfect. Analyst corporate strategy. Boom, bada boom. You know, this is getting good. Okay. And then it's like, yeah, girl, go. You define the valuation model for, yes, kill it. Cost analysis. You're so badass. Okay. Woo, I'm liking it. Okay, here we go. Okay, next one. 2010 to 2011. Okay. So, come on. It's like, I don't even know where to put my mouse. It's confusing. Like, okay, just stop. Associate, business development, and fixed income trading. Can we just say that it was associate business development? Because I'm kind of getting thrown off by this fixed income trading thing. If it was like JP Morgan, I would get it, but then it's like this company. Okay, hold on. Let's see how it goes. Maybe we'll keep it. Maybe we won't. Oh, Charlotte, stay with me. Okay. Bold. Okay. Startup. I have a feeling like this was a bit of a crazy place to work. Can you imagine? It's like you're a startup and you have to sell stuff to these big firms that are like, we don't have time to have lunch, let alone buy your stuff. It sounds like a really challenging job. Okay. All the more reason that this person is incredible. Okay, Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, here's the thing. I want to put the city of like where you want to apply. So, because it doesn't make sense. It's like, wait, you went to school in Arizona, and then you went to school in New York, and then you went to Charlotte, but then you're in Florida. Like, I don't get it. So I would just try to be like, what city do you want to work in? And if it's Florida, great, put that. Okay, let's see. We're almost done. This is like, I think I figured out where to put my mouse. You have to like put it lower. Okay. Web editor. Can we just like web editor CBS5? S5. Okay, now we're going to get all these bullets. Oh, doesn't it feel so good when it makes sense? Okay. Get over here! No! See, like, why does it think the formatting is over there? Oh, I see. Okay. I'm not going to be such a bitch. It's because I think she did her dates over there, which makes sense. Okay. It's just so badass that she went from being a web editor to like working in fixed income trading. Like, who are these people? Okay. You know what I'm thinking? No, you don't, because I'm just saying this in my own head. Is, and like, I know this girl. I mean, I don't know this, but like, look at all these scholarships she got. You know, she got some kind of award or scholarship to go to Columbia. And like, also summa cum laude. Like, I think I was like not summa cum laude at all. I was like, how do I take the least amount of classes and still graduate? Okay. All right. So here's this crazy thing that sometimes I like to do, because I think it breaks it up. Whoa. Whoa, I don't, like, honestly don't even know what just happened. Let's see if that's gonna even make sense. Let's see. And I actually just went through and paused the video and made some structural changes throughout, because I realized that it's like those cooking videos where you see someone chopping a head of broccoli, and it's like, I realized you guys do not need to watch me cut every piece, every floret off of the broccoli head. Like, you can just sort of fast forward through that. So I'm going to take you through some of the changes that I've made, and I think this is a pretty good first draft. So before, I was trying to figure out what to do with this education and volunteer section, and what I've done actually is just keep it really simple. So all of the dates are still on the left-hand side so that they're consistent. And we have Columbia, and then we have Arizona State, and then we have the volunteer section. So in this section, I actually bolded the Columbia Business School and Arizona State University. And you can actually see that all of the bolding throughout is pretty consistent now. So I've made this header an 18 font. This is 11, and then the regular font here is 9.5. So that's sort of the consistent sizing that we use throughout. And here under MBA, I ask her also for one more item. Like, for example, if she had a really kick-ass GMAT, or if she won an award or something like that, that she should put that there. And then I actually split these awards and scholarships onto 2 lines because she has the space. So obviously here the education is a little bit padded. So if she needed to have stuff, let's say she needed to add 3 more bullet points to Telenor or another bullet point to Acre Solutions, then she could always remove some of the bullet points from the education section or even get rid of the volunteer section altogether. So you always want to be thinking about the hierarchy of the content and understanding okay, so what's important, what can be cut if need be, and then what needs to stay. So it's great to have this volunteer stuff with a crisis text line, for example, but it's also not 100% necessary. Okay, so the other major change that I made is I went through, and you might have noticed that before the bullet points were all, 2 to 3 lines, and they weren't consistent. Some were 2 lines, some were 3 lines, some were 1 line. And I like to have really consistent bullet points because people are just scanning the resume. They are not, digesting this. This is not like a Dostoevsky novel. They're not, reading it line for line. It really is just a scanning exercise. And so I really like to condense everything and make it as concise as possible. I also feel that, it's a tendency. Everyone does it. It's a tendency to want to add more words, to elaborate, to really fill the resume and make it feel more substantial. But the fact is that, whether you say, in accordance with or just simply with, right? It doesn't matter. You're saying the same thing. And people really appreciate being concise. They really appreciate, just a really someone who's gone through and can say it in a very clean manner. I think that's definitely something that's sort of undervalued in today's professional world. So, I'm going to stop there. This is it. I mean, this is what I would send back to the client, along with a list of questions and follow-ups. But in terms of a first draft, I think that especially, for this person being an incredibly talented, hardworking, great track record MBA, I mean, she can take it from here, she can figure it out. She can move the bullet points around, she can add bullet points, but overall the structure is, I think, really nice and a great starting point for her. And also things like, font, if she wanted to play with font, totally. I mean, I'm not a stickler for any of this stuff. I think it has to be, a little bit creative as well. So in my email to her, I'm also going to say, feel free to play with the fonts. Feel free to change stuff around. This is just a structure for you to work off of. But if it were me, I want her to be able to take this resume, spend 10 minutes polishing it, and then have it be pretty much ready to go. That's kind of my philosophy. Is I really want to give my clients things that are, ready to go, plug and play, not a ton of thinking. We've already removed a lot of the excess. We've really simplified it. We have a consistent structure, and it is ready to go. So thanks so much for watching this episode of Resume Live, and I will catch you guys next time. All right, see you later.